Welcome to OCTO TALK from Computacenter, where we discuss the latest innovations and trends in the market. Today we're talking about Cloud version 2, and I'm joined by my colleague, Chief Technologist for Cloud, Paul Nearn. So welcome, Paul.
Thanks Ash, nice to be here.
So Cloud version 2 is what we're talking about today. So can you give me a bit of a view on what Cloud version 2 is?
Sure, so at its core, Cloud version 2 is really helping our customers move to their next iteration of their cloud platforms as they deal with things like application modernization, platform modernization, these sorts of elements. And it's really about how we can help our customers become more agile in their cloud delivery, how we can help them better manage the cost challenges that they have around cloud, how we can help them become better, have better governance through things like security and observability, and also how we can help them drive their application transformation and modernization agendas.
Okay, well, thanks for that. So my next question would be, if there's a Cloud v2, what was Cloud v1, or was there a Cloud v1? There
was a Cloud v1. So recently Cloud v1, or what we would call Cloud version 1, was really, if you think back 10 years ago when our customers started on their cloud adoption journeys, a lot of them went through that cloud first strategy. And they really dove headfirst into that strategy in terms of how they adopted the cloud, making very infrastructure-led decisions that were driven by things like data center exits and the like. And quite often they didn't consider the applications themselves when they actually moved some of those workloads. Right. And that's led to many of our applications not being optimized for cloud. They're facing cost challenges and economic challenges. They're not really meeting some of the benefits and the value of cloud that they initially expected. So that second generation of cloud, that move to that second iteration of cloud, is really how we can help them address some of those challenges and move to much more of a multi-cloud driven model, a much more hybrid driven model where there's a lot more focus on areas like automation, orchestration, developer velocity, platform engineering, and some of those sorts of elements.
So just to be clear then, it's not just for public cloud?
It isn't, and that's really important. Again, as a lot of our customers are moving on this cloud journey, they're moving much more to, as I say, a lot of them started on that public cloud journey, and there's very much been this division, I think, between public cloud and private cloud. But Cloud v2 is about providing that abstraction layer across the public cloud, the private cloud, and also the edge as well, and how we can have some of those higher level components. As I say, many of our customers are moving to much more of that hybrid based model in terms of their cloud deployment. And the Cloud v2 framework is really designed to try and support how we can help them do that across those different platforms.
Excellent. So in terms of the framework that you talked about, how does the framework actually help our customers then to move from their current iteration of cloud to Cloud Next or Cloud v2?
Yeah, so the framework defines a number of different domains and topic areas that we think are relevant to help our customers on that journey, and clearly different customers will be at different stages of that journey. So there's a number of specific domain topics that we've identified that move from areas like enterprise adoption, where our customers are still looking to move to the cloud from legacy platforms, and then move through that maturity model in terms of how they're doing things like orchestration and cloud operations, how they're going through that data and AI and application modernization story, right through to how they're actually consuming cloud, so through things like marketplaces and also challenges like FinOps and cloud consumption agreements. So it's very much around, in terms of that framework, as I say, those domains and topic areas that we really focus on when we're having those discussions with our customers.
Okay then, so to try to bring this to life a bit, have you got any examples of how we've helped customers using the framework to go from where they are to kind of the next version?
Yeah, so I won't go over everything, you'll be pleased to hear, we'll be here all day, but if I pick out a couple of specific examples, so orchestration operations is one where we've helped a number of our customers understand how they can provision and orchestrate their cloud services using tooling such as ServiceNow, for example, in terms of providing some of that catalog-based provisioning. Okay. We've helped our customers on that data and AI journey as well, in terms of how we're actually facilitating the use of those data platforms that then accelerate the use of AI. And also, as well, I think we touched a little bit on the FinOps piece, so we've helped a number of our customers in terms of how they're addressing that cost challenge. That's actually been the number one challenge for many organisations for a number of years now, so that's really key. So that's another area as well. But yeah, there's as I say, there's a number of other things we won't talk about today, but we can effectively, when we talk to our customers, we can identify some of their specific problems and then start to have some very narrowed down discussions that are relevant to them.
Thinking about customers that you talk to on that cloud journey, would you say that there are any pitfalls that you see commonly happening, or challenges that you see customers falling into as they're trying to go from current versions of cloud to next?
Yeah, so I think there's, we've already touched on a number of the challenges that they have, and I think when we talk about pitfalls per se, I think, as I say, different customers will be facing different challenges, and that's really important. So when we have those conversations, it's important to understand specifically what their challenges are, and some of them might be very much focused on that developer type community, how we're helping our how they can help their developers onboard their cloud platforms faster.
Yeah.
Some of them may have very specific challenges around how they're doing cloud operations, so moving to that more agile mode 2 type cloud operations piece. And some of them may have challenges, again, as we talked about, around how they're consuming cloud and some of the challenges around cloud. So it's very, very specific in terms of what, how customers, every customer that I speak to has either a combination of some of those challenges or different ones, depending on exactly where they are.
Okay. So just kind of shifting back, what I'm tending to see with lots of different technologies now with customers is that the people who maybe provision, develop, design these solutions, they're having to have a lot broader conversation with other people in the business. Again, is that something that you're seeing in terms of how cloud are provisioned, in terms of maybe some different business use cases, the kind of stakeholders that are involved in those conversations that you're having now?
Yeah, so cloud provisioning is a really important one for us in terms of originally, and for a lot of our customers, again, it was very infrastructure led. So it was very much a kind of platform team or infrastructure team that was provisioning some of those services.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is we want to move customers away from that to more of the consumers of those services being able to provision those cloud services. That can be via catalog-based provisioning. We mentioned ServiceNow is a great example where we can facilitate that, or it can be API-driven, for example. What we're trying to do is talk to our customers and say that you can provision this cloud service, and all of the underlying elements that then need to happen in terms of orchestrating the provisioning of that. So security is a really good example where we've worked with a customer where they took 48 days to provision a VM because it was mired in different security sign-offs, and then automating all of that, so it took it down from days to hours, right? So that's a really good example. So again, being able to shift away from that, it's a set of platform people that have to provision these services, to much more of the consumers actually driving that provisioning.
Okay, excellent. So one of the things that always comes up in conversations, and you briefly mentioned it earlier on, is AI. How do you see AI driving or improving, supporting Cloud V2 and what our customers are doing?
Yeah, so I guess there's really two nuances to that question. So AI is a core part of Cloud V2 in terms of the ask that our customers have to be able to adopt AI and make it go quicker within not just public cloud but also within private cloud, and obviously situating those workloads where they should be. In terms of how it's helping some of those elements, absolutely. In terms of, again, in things like intelligent cloud operations, how we're using AI in terms of code development in cloud, some of those sorts of areas, how it's helping to drive, decision making in the data space, as an example, and other areas as well. Yes, there's very much that kind of, how we implement it, and then how it's also supporting some of those domain areas in terms of it, AI itself being used to drive some of those areas. Okay,
thank you. Now, I'm sure lots of our customers will be on different parts of the journey because, as you talked about, there's various aspects of the blueprint. So, does the blueprint help, or how does the blueprint help our customers, even if they're at different stages of that journey, going from wherever they are now to kind of cloud next?
Yeah. So, again, when we speak to our customers, it's all about where they are. So a lot of them will be, it's interesting because some customers will have a lot of that enterprise type, legacy type piece that they still need to do some of that adoption perspective. In terms of, we still need to move a lot of applications. We're still quite immature in our development. We're still not quite at the stage we want to be. Some of the customers that we speak to are very much born in the cloud native type, and they are I guess a lot further down that journey in terms of implementing things like PaaS services and cloud native services. So they have a set of different challenges that they have to adopt. So some of their challenges might be more around, we want to containerize, we want to do that faster. We want to support our developer community, whereas maybe people on the other end are saying, I still need to get things into cloud and I still need to go through that journey. How can you help me do that? So it is very much, assessing where our customer's at and then using that framework and the elements within that framework to, I guess, address some of their specific challenges and say, right, these are the elements that, we would suggest you focus on, or have broader conversations by bringing in the SMEs that we have that have a lot of skill sets in some of these specific areas.
Yeah. And then in terms of the feedback that you've had from customers in your engagement using the blueprint, what kind of feedback have you had?
Yeah, it's been really good. We presented to a customer the other day who actually said, I've been looking to build something like this myself, so this is great to see this. We had another customer who said, this is a really good representation of the challenges that I'm facing. And it actually acts as a really good kind of jumping off point, as I say, to have that conversation to say, okay, if we use this as a framework as it's intended to do, how can we then, talk around some of these areas and then dive into some of those specific topic areas that we mentioned, and then be able to have those jumping off points. So yeah, in all the sessions I've been in with customers, it's been really positively received, and it's led to some really great outcomes in terms of being able to really zero in on what challenges they do have. Rather, I guess, than just say, here's a load of services or here's a load of technology, let's just talk to you about all these different elements. This is something that can bring it all together as an umbrella, which is quite a good thing in terms of being able to then have that very, targeted conversation with the customer.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that. Looking at the market, customer conversations, vendor conversations, where do you see the future of cloud, and what should customers do to I suppose be involved and get the best out of what may come next?
Yeah, so as I say, we in terms of how our customers mature along that enterprise cloud journey, we're trying to help them on that maturity journey, and I think that kind of plays into that. So it's very much around how we can help them become more mature in terms of that, automation, orchestration, FinOps management, all those things. But also actually starting to move away from a very infrastructure-led conversation, elevate it more to a platform-led conversation. And a lot of our customers are having those conversations in terms, we want to talk more about cloud-native services. We want to talk more about how we can enable our development teams. And they don't want to have that conversation about pure infrastructure anymore. They want to start talking about this from a platform lens. And I think we'll start to see more and more of that as customers kind of move left to right on that journey.
Excellent. So if you were to, obviously you support lots of our customers on their journeys. There are some customers who want to try and do these things themselves. Again, nothing wrong with that. What are the kind of things you suggest that they would seek to do in order for them to kind of get the best out of their cloud strategy and platform that they may build?
Yeah, so I don't think it hurts for customers, to take a step back and take a wider view, a wider lens. As I say, we have a lot of customers who have, the best in the world, lots of different departments. They're quite siloed. They're very focused on specific areas. In terms of using someone like ourselves and a framework like this to say, let's look at this more holistically. How are we doing this in the round? So how are we looking at some of these elements, being able to bring it all together? Where's the value? The economic and the business value about bringing these elements together. I think that is as I say, and that probably feeds back into some of that feedback that we've had from some of those customer conversations to be able to say, actually, when we look at these areas holistically, we're able to, really focus in on some of these things. So I think, elevating that conversation a little bit to be able to say, let's look at this in a, from that wider framework perspective has added a lot of value in the conversations that I've been a part of.
Excellent. So, we always strive to make sure that we can support our customers in the best way. So what are things that you've taken from customer conversations, maybe recently over the kind of last months, and with vendors that you think will help to shape the kind of capabilities that we need to build to support our customers on this journey? Yeah,
so I think a lot of our, in terms of our ISV customers, if you look at all of our ISV vendor partners, if you look at our framework, for example, then clearly a lot of our ISV partners support in very specific areas of that framework, which is which is great for us. So again, if we look at this from a security and networking perspective, we have a number of our key vendors, the likes of Palo Alto, Wiz, Zscaler as examples in that space, where they are also very much aligned to this kind of conversation, how they can help their customers adopt cloud and adopt it in a more structured way to move them left to right. Yeah. So being able to work very closely in some of these areas with our ISV partners is obviously quite a powerful thing. And again, when we dive into some of those specific areas and have those discussions with customers, we can bring that value into those conversations with customers, which again is quite a powerful thing to be able to do.
Excellent. Well, it's definitely some things for us to think about. Obviously, both for us, supporting our customers, but also customers themselves, as they continue to drive towards whatever their next iteration of cloud may be. So, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We hope you've enjoyed this discussion around Cloud V2. You can subscribe on all the usual channels to keep notified of the things that are coming up next. We do have more podcasts coming soon. Until next time, stay curious and keep innovating.